Hello and welcome to late summer. So this is a really important time of year. It's between summer and autumn, transitional period where we focus on creating that foundation, that sense of grounding and stability. So in our practice, we're going to be focusing on standing postures and just really connecting to the earth, connecting to our foundation. Just that sense of grounding through like lunges and through squats. So let's begin at the back of our mats. You're going to come into Virasana, hero pose. So feet are going to come out to either side of the sit bones, with the calves drawing either side of the thighs. Take a moment with your hands on top of the quadriceps, closing eyes over. Feeling yourself grounding down into the sit bones. Growing nice and tall. And this posture is really great for opening out the fronts of the knees. And just taking that time to center, to arrive at the mat. And while you're here, just becoming aware of the breath. As you sit upright, maybe noticing a gentle rising and falling of your shoulders with every in-breath and out-breath. As you travel your attention down the torso, noticing the movement in the rib cage too, and into the abdomen. And as eyes are closed here for a moment, feel a softness through the face. And as you connect to your breath, noticing shifts in your mental state. Feeling yourself arriving to the present moment. Letting go of any thoughts that had entered to your head prior to arriving in your mat. And flutter your eyes open here. Just take your hands slightly further back, and you might be fine just taking the hands onto the mat as you draw your torso back slightly. Or you might want to come with the forearms down onto the mat. Now, still keeping the chest lifted here, and if that pinches into your lower back, straighten into the arms. As we begin to deepen in to a little quadricep stretch. So really focusing on the quads at this time of year, both stretching them and lengthening them. So this is also a great practice to come into in other parts of the year. It doesn't have to be in late summer. If you just want to focus on strengthening and lengthening through the legs. Now take hands below the shoulders if forearms are on the mat, straighten into the arms, drawing slightly forward so crown of the head is directly above the tailbone. Come over onto your right side slightly, release your left leg, taking it in front of you so the right leg is still bent, the calf outside of the thigh. Take a breath in, draw the hands up towards the ceiling, and as you exhale, begin to hinge from the hips, coming into a gentle fold, melting torso over the left leg. So we're working both on lengthening through the left side hamstring here, but also opening out into the right quadricep and stretching a little bit into the knee. Take one more inhale, finding a little bit more length. Exhale, release into it. Hands release, spine uncurls. Roll back onto that right side, bend into the left knee, returning into Virasana. So the tops of the feet are on the mat, soles facing up to the sky. Once again, draw your hands back. Maybe you can find more depth in this time. If forearms weren't on the mat before, they might be able to be now. If not, just continuing to bend the elbows ever so slightly with hands below the shoulders. Now making sure tongue is to the roof of the mouth, the throat is lengthened. Still connecting with that breath. Gazing forward. Place hands below the shoulders if they weren't already, straighten into the arms. Roll over onto your left side, this time releasing right leg, extending it in front of you. Breathe in, hands come up towards the sky. Exhale, fold from the hips, placing your hands wherever they meet on the right leg. And exhale, fold inwards. Opening through the chest. Surrendering down onto this right leg. Take one more inhale, finding that little bit more space. Exhale, release into it. And release the hands, uncurl the spine. Roll over onto the left side slightly once again, bend into the right knee. Hands come behind you. Maybe forearms draw into the mat. Maybe they don't. Just work with the limits of your body. Just really rooting down into the foundation, both with your arms, but also with your shins, drawing the shins to the mat so that you're finding as much depth through this quad stretch as possible. And place hands below the shoulders, straighten into the arms. Place the hands either side of the legs, lift the hips ever so slightly, and take the hips so that they're directly above the heels. Hands now draw back. Breathe in, lift your knees off the mat as you open into the fronts of the ankles. And if this doesn't work for you, you can take hands to opposite knees, just one at a time, as you draw each knee off the mat. So just stretching into the fronts of the feet here. Still keeping the spine nice and long. Release the knees down. Take your hands slightly further forward for a moment. Lift your sit bones off the heels. Tuck the toes under. Sit on the heels and draw the crown of the head directly above the feet. Hands come onto the thighs as you come into broken toe pose. Opening out into the soles of the feet. So because we're working quite a lot on our standing postures and that sense of grounding, that sense of rooting, just work on opening out the foundation first. Take one more inhale. And as you exhale, just melt away the tension in the feet. Take your hands in front of the knees slightly again, untuck toes. So the tops of the feet on the mat, this time you're going to take the hips so they're directly above the knees. Take your arms to shoulder height, palms spin downwards. Find more length through the spine, and as you exhale, keep a straight line from the crown of the head to the knees and simply hinge back, firing up through the quads. Now on an in breath, draw the crown of the head so that it's directly above the knees. Exhale, hinging back. Keep lengthening through the spine. Inhale, come forward. Exhale, hinge back one more time, and we're going to try holding this. Trying to not dip into the lower back, press the hips forward, keeping a straight line from the knees to the shoulders. Take one more exhale. Inhale, crown of the head comes above the thighs. Hands come down onto the mat. Keep the shoulders above the wrists, simply lower the hips down to the earth, lengthen into front body, taking a moment to release into the quads. Shoulders are soft, press into the hands. Now push into hands and knees, draw the big toes together. Exhale into child's pose. Inhale, slither all the way forward, lying down onto the mat. Take hands so they're slightly wider than the mat, fingers, elbows come directly above the wrists. Exalted cobra, pressing into the fingertips, lift the chest, gaze forward. And release into front body. Exhale, melt all the way down. Lift the right foot up to the sky, creating a bend in the knee. Step your right foot behind you, so taking it to the outside of the left leg. Left ear rests on the mat. And just take a moment to open out into the front of the hip. Exhale, release the forehead down, drop the right leg onto the mat. Breathe in, left foot comes up to the sky, step it behind you. Come onto the right ear and stretch into the front of the hip. Exhale, release down. Take hands below the shoulders, tuck the toes under. Use your knees if you need to, press all the way up into a plank. Lift hips to the sky, downward facing dog, Adho Mukha Svanasana. Now maybe adjusting feet if you need to so they're hip distance apart. And first downward dog of the class, so back of the legs might feel quite tight. If they do, just take a pedaling out through the feet. Just very slow movements though. Bending into one knee and then the other. On your next in breath, rise up onto the balls of the feet. Take a big bend into the knees. Press into your hands, send torso in the direction of the thighs. Push yourself back. Now keep the torso exactly where it is, straightening the legs. Sink heels to the mats. And feel that release into the back line of the body. Now rise up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, bend the knees, take as many steps as you need to come through to the front of the mat. Exhale, release into your forward fold. Shuffle your feet so they're just wider than hip distance apart, angling toes out, sink down into the knees, come into Malasana, low yogic squats. Arms are to the inner thighs to open out through the abductors. Take your hands together in front of the chest. Press down into your feet, inhale. You're going to lift the hips so the torso becomes parallel with the mat. Exhale, lower the sit bones back down and lift through the chest. Then press into the feet, straighten the legs, rise the hands all the way to the sky. Exhale, come back into Malasana, sinking down into the knees. Elbows to the inner thighs. Breathe in, lift the sit bones. Tip the torso forward. Exhale, draw the sit bones down, open through the chest. Press into the feet, rising all the way up into that standing position. Exhale, sink back down, finding more depth in this low squat. Inhale, hips lift. Exhale, sit bones lower down. Press into the feet, straighten the legs, rise up. Exhale, sink back down into Malasana. Hands release down onto the mat, shoulder width apart, jump or step back into a plank. Exhale, melt all the way down. Untuck toes. Press into the hands, Bhujangasana Cobra, connecting all 10 toes with the earth, lifting through the chest, gazing forward. Stay here, begin to bend into the knees, lifting the feet up towards the ceiling. Allow the hips to become heavy as you feel this in the quadriceps. Exhale, melt the feet. Release the chest. Tuck the toes under, press into the hands and knees, use knees if you need to. Come into your plank. And downward facing dog, lift hips to the sky. Lift your right foot up towards the ceiling, three-legged dog. Ripple the shoulders above the wrist, draw the knee in towards the nose, then press into the hands, give it a little bit higher. Step the foot through between the hands, coming into a runner's lunge, making sure both knees are facing forwards. So front knee is directly above the ankle, engage through the back thigh and the left side. Exhale, release the left knee down onto the mat, making sure you're on the front of the knee rather than on the kneecap, taking a moment to release into the quads. Lengthen into the hip flexor. Breathe in, take the hands up towards the ceiling. Anjaneyasana, low lunge. Palm spin inwards. Making sure you're tucking the back toes under. And either staying here, if you want to power up through this back leg, hover your left knee just ever so slightly off the mat. Making sure you're still connecting into the foundation. Keeping the spine nice and long as well, keeping the chest open so that you can use your breath to find this strength. Exhale, release the hands either side of the front foot. If back knee wasn't off the mat already, lift it off. Come into Vashisthasana, side plank. So swivel on the outer edge of the left foot. Allow the right foot to meet the left, extend the right hand up towards the ceiling, engaging through your obliques. Right foot steps in front of the left leg, so taking it just slightly higher than the left knee. Holding this here, rooting down into your left hand. Lower the hips to the mat, extend the right bicep alongside the ear. Press into the left hand, lift the hips, right hand draws behind you. Exhale, release the hips down, bicep comes alongside the ear. And release the hand down. Swivel on the ball of the back foot, the right knee, come into a plank. Lower the body all the way down towards the mat. Hands below the shoulders, untuck the toes. Bhujangasana Cobra, press into the hands, lift the chest. Gaze forward. Hips are heavy. Stay here, begin to lift the feet up towards the ceiling. Lengthen into front body. Feeling this nice deep stretch in the quads. Release the feet down. Release the chest down. Push yourself into plank as toes tuck under. Press into your hands. Lift hips to the sky. Downward facing dog. Breathe in, rise up onto the balls of the feet. Big bend into the knees, draw chest towards the thighs. Then straighten the legs, sink heels down to the earth. Three-legged dog with the left leg leading, floating it up to the sky. Send the knee in towards the nose, draw shoulders above the wrist, press into the hands, scoop the knee higher. Then step the foot all the way through. Staying in your runner's lunge for a moment, taking the gaze forward, firing up through that back thigh. Making sure front knee is facing in the same direction as the toes. Exhale, lower the back knee down. Inhale, take hands up towards the ceiling. Sinking your hips down to the earth to lengthen into the quads. Soften through shoulders. Stay here or hover your right knee just ever so slightly off the mat. Keep resting down into that left foot. Into the ball of the right foot. Take one more inhale. Exhale, release hands down. If back knee wasn't off, lift it up. Come onto the outer edge of the right foot, allow left foot to meet the right, and reach the left hand up to the sky, Vashisthasana side plank. Left foot steps in front of the right leg. Exhale, drop the hips down towards the mat, take the left hand behind you. Press firmly into the right hand, lift the hips, sweep left arm overhead. Exhale, hips lower to the mat, left hand draws behind. Inhale, lift up. Release the left hand down, swivel on the left foot, the right foot, and step the foot back. Exhale, melt the chest all the way down towards the mat, untuck toes. Press into the hands, lift the chest. And maybe lifting feet off the earth. Can you press into the hands to lift the chest slightly higher? Can you bend your knees a little bit more? Maybe drawing your head back slightly. Lovely, exhale to melt all the way down. Tuck the toes under. Come into plank. Hips lift up. Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward dog. Taking a moment here. Lengthening through the spine. Take a big breath in through the nose. And let a big releasing breath out through the mouth. Rise up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, bend the knees, come through to the front of the mat. Again, taking as many steps as you need to. Exhale, fold inwards. Press into the feet, rise to standing, hands sweep all the way up towards the sky, palms meet overhead. Melt back into your fold. Thumbs come down the center line, hands release down onto the mat. Take a big step back with the left foot coming into our runner's lunge. Left hand presses into the mat, sweep right hand to the ceiling into an easy twist. Really encouraging this twist as you press into the left hand. Make your way into revolve skandasana, so come onto the outer edge of the right foot and the outer edge of the left, dropping hips down so all 10 toes face towards the right side. Right hand comes all the way behind. Press into the left hand, lift the hips. Now swivel on your feet so you're now facing towards the left side, melting down into skandasana, sinking down into the right knee, straightening into the left leg. Pressing your right arm to the inner thigh to open through the hip. Left foot releases down onto the mat, power off through your feet, come into goddess, making sure toes are angled out, palms are together. Sinking down into your knees, making sure knees are facing in the same direction as the toes. Crown of the head is directly above the tailbone, and just hold this here. Option of lifting your heels off the mat as you play around with your balance and also just working on finding more strain through the legs. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper. Keep lifting that torso so the crown of the head is directly above the tail. Release the heels. Sink down into the left knee, straighten the right leg, coming into skandasana at the back of the mat. Power off through your feet, inhale back into goddess. Exhale, skandasana to the front of the mat. Release your hands either side of the front foot, swivel on both feet, all 10 toes are facing forward. Step back into a plank. Shoulders are above the wrists, engage through the thighs, dropping down onto the knees if you want to modify. Take shoulders slightly beyond the wrists. Exhale, lower halfway down, chaturanga, half plank. Inhale, come into upward dog, lifting your knees slightly off the mat, gazing to the sky. Exhale, travel into downward dog. Hips lift up to the ceiling, lengthen through the spine. Breathe in, come up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, bend the knees, come through to the front of the mat. Exhale, melt into a fold. Press into the feet, rise up to standing, hands sweep up to the sky, palms meet overhead. Melt back into your fold in one big exhale. Hands come down to the mat, bending your knees as much as you need to. Take a step back with the right foot this time. Making sure all 10 toes are facing forward. Press into the right hand, left hand sweeps to the sky, coming into a twist, rotating the torso over to the left. Swivel on the outer edges of both feet, drop right side hip, left hand comes behind you, revolve Skandasana. All 10 toes face towards the longer end of the mat. Press into the right hand, lift the hips. Take your left hand to the inside of the left foot, hips face towards the right side now, straighten into the right leg. Bend into the left knee. Holding this here for a moment, sinking hips to the mat. Lower the right foot. Power all the way into goddess and take hands to the chest. And just holding this here. So we want to think about our inner thighs here. You're engaging through the abductors, so knees are tracking in the same direction as the toes. Maybe finding more depth in that bend. And try not to avoid drawing the torso forward. We want to lift that torso. Then sink a little bit deeper. Maybe lifting heels off the mat. Still connecting with that breath. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Release the heels, sink down into the right knee, straighten through the left leg, Skandasana to the back of the mat. Press the left foot into the earth. Power off through that foot. Inhale, come back into goddess. Sink down into the left knee, straighten through right leg. Take your hands either side of the front foot, swiveling forward. This time just stepping the right foot through. Exhale, fold. Rise to standing in one big in breath. And in one big out breath, fold from the hips. Making sure your toes are together, ankles are together. Sink down into Katasana chair. Reaching hands up towards the ceiling. Palms spin inwards. And just holding this in this sculpt. Thighs are engaged. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper as you find more strength through the legs. Now take the hands together in front of the chest. Shift your weight into the right foot and begin to lift the left heel so that it's coming towards the glute. So we're now balancing on this right leg. Maybe sinking a little bit deeper. Straighten through the leg. Draw the left leg behind you. Come into Virabhadrasana, C, Warrior 3. Torso faces towards the mat. Stabilizing through the right ankle. Now bend into the right knee again. And let's try holding this. Again, just creating more power through this right leg. You can drop your hands onto the mat if you need to. Draw the left foot all the way back. Reach hands to the sky, coming into your high lunge. Holding this here. Making sure both knees are facing forward. Option of lowering your back knee towards the mat, but without touching, hold it. Making sure you're stabilizing through the front ankle. Engaging through the back thigh. Take one more big breath in. Exhale, release the hands either side of the front foot. Take a big step back into plank. Shift the bodies forward slightly. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, downward dog. Hips lift up to the ceiling. Adjusting your feet. Connecting your breath once again. Sinking heels to the earth. Now big inhale, come up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, bend the knees. Come through to the front of the mat. Exhale, fold. Rise to standing as you breathe in, hands sweep up to the sky. Exhale, find length through the spine, fold from the hips. Hands come down towards the mat. Find a big bend into the knees, Utkatasana once again. Quads are engaged. The chest is open. Rooting down into all four corners of each foot. Take your hands together in front of the chest. With this bend in the knees, begin to draw the right heel in towards the glute. Finding stability through the left leg. Strength through the thigh. Tip the torso forward, extend the right leg to hip height. Virabhadrasana C, Warrior 3. Taking a moment here, finding that stability, and again if you want to, drop the hands down onto the mat. Finding a big bend into the knee. Still breathing. Exhale, release the right foot all the way to the back of the mat, sweep hands up to the sky. High lunge. Holding this. Feeling your thigh bones drawing in towards the midline. Making sure crown of the head is directly above the tailbone, so try not to tip forward. Option of lowering that back knee down towards the mat once again and holding it. Taking another couple of breaths, gazing forward, reaching away with fingertips. So trying to imagine you're splitting your body into two from the hips down. You're creating this downward movement, rooting down into the earth, and from the hips up, you're lengthening the crown of the head up to the ceiling. Well done, take the hands either side of the front foot, step back into a plank. Shoulders come forward, knees on or off the mat. Exhale, lower halfway. Take a breath in. Now this time just melt all the way down towards the mat, untuck toes. Press into the hands and knees, come into child's pose. Big toes come together, tailbone comes to the heels. Now sit back in the heels and lift your hips are directly above the knees. Tuck the toes under. Take the arms to shoulder height. Keep lengthening through the spine and swivel over towards the right side. Release the right hand onto the right heel, sweep the left arm overhead, pressing the hips forward, opening through the front body. Breathe in, take arms to shoulder height. Swivel torso to the center. Now come all the way over towards the other side. Left hand comes onto the left heel, press hips forward, draw right arm overhead. Lengthening into right side body, but also stretching into the quads. Push off through your left hand, take arms to shoulder height. Swivel to the center. Take the hands forward. Find length through the spine, exhale, hinge back. Holding it for a breath in. And a breath out. Inhale, take crown of the head forward, breathing. Exhale, hinge back. Take a breath in, strengthening through your core, engaging through the quads. Exhale. Inhale, head comes directly above the knees. Release the hands down onto the mat. Drop hips down to the earth, gaze to the sky, into a modified upward dog, just releasing into the quads. Come into all fours. Tuck the toes under, and you're going to hover your knees just ever so slightly off the mat. Back of the neck is nice and long. Pressing firmly into the hands. Making sure you're tucking your tailbone down slightly to flatten into the lower back. Engaging the core, drawing navel to the spine. Quads might feel like they're firing up too. Take an extra in-breath. Exhale, sink heels, lift hips to the sky. Pressing torso in the direction of the thigh. Rise up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, bend the knees, come through to the front of the mat. Uttanasana. Exhale. Breathe in, come to standing. Hands reach to the sky. Exhale, fold inwards. Toes and ankles are together, bend down into the knees, come back into Utkatasana chair. Take the hands together in front of the chest. Keep hip bones facing forward, swivel the torso to the right side. Hook the right elbow to the outside of, the left elbow to the outside of the right knee. Right elbow faces the sky. Maybe bending a little bit deeper into the knees, keep pressing down into the feet. Now maybe playing around with lifting your left heel off the mat. Well done, step the foot all the way back, keeping this twist. Both knees are facing forward, lengthen through the spine. Now hold this. Think about pressing the elbow to the outside of the knee. Lift the torso away from the thigh. Reach the crown of the head forward. Front knee is directly above the ankle. Push off through the feet, reach the crown of the head up to the ceiling, then take the arms to shoulder height, twisted high lunge. Release the back hand down the leg. Float left hand to the sky. Gazing towards the back foot if you can. Reaching that left hand high. Sinking down into the front knee. Powering up through the back leg. Take arms to shoulder height, keep the twist. Release the left hand down onto the mat, take right hand all the way to the ceiling, opening through the torso. Exhale, release the back knee down. Untuck the toes. Draw your right hand all the way back to open through the chest, then either stay here or begin to send your left heel towards the glute and wrap your hand around the pinky toe edge of the foot. Using your left hand to encourage a rotation through the spine, peeling the right shoulder back. Taking one more exhale, sinking hips down, lengthening into the quad. And release the foot, tuck the toes under, lift the back knee off the mat, extend the bicep alongside the ear. Release the hand to the outside of the foot. Adjust hands to the shoulder width apart, then step back into a plank. Shift shoulders forward slightly. Exhale, lower halfway. Inhale, upward dog, soften through shoulders, press into the hands, hips are heavy. Exhale, downward dog, rolling over the toes or dropping down onto the knees first. Taking a moment to lengthen into the back line. Now rise up onto the balls of the feet, lift the gaze, big bend into the knees. Use your core to step through to the front of the mat. Uttanasana, exhale. Inhale to standing. Hands come to the sky, palms meet. Exhale, fold inwards. Take hands down to the mat. Big bend into the knees, find Utkatasana chair one more time. Pulling up into the quads, gazing forward. Take the hands together in front of the chest. Keep the hip bones facing forward, this time twisting over towards the left side. Hook the right elbow to the outside of the left knee. Left elbow faces to the sky and trying to get your thumbs to your sternum. Now our knees are wanting to have a tendency to draw forward slightly, so try and peel the right knee back so that they stay in line. Now trying to play around with drawing the right heel towards the glute. Embracing any wobbles and step the foot all the way back. Holding this here for a moment. Lifting chest away from thigh. Extending crown of the head forward. Lengthening into the side body. Now breathe in, take the crown of the head up to the ceiling. Arms come to shoulder height. Left hand lowers down onto the back leg. Right hand comes to the sky. We find length into the side body. Engagement through the back thigh and through the front thigh. Inhale, take arms to shoulder height. Right hand comes down onto the mat. Take the left hand all the way to the sky and lower the back knee down onto the mat. And you might need to just wriggle that knee back slightly, so you want to be on the front of the knee again rather than on the kneecap. Draw your left hand all the way back, open through the chest. Staying here, or begin to activate through the quad. Draw your heel to the glute and take your hand around pinky toe edge of the foot. Right hand is there to encourage a rotation through the chest. So really using that, spiralizing the heart to the ceiling. Maybe drawing the heel a little bit closer. Exhale, release. Tuck toes under, lift the back knee off, extend left bicep alongside the ear, lengthen into the side body. Release left hand to the outside of the foot. Adjust hands to their shoulder width apart. Step into plank. Shift slightly forward. Exhale, lower all the way down. Untuck toes, press into the hands, come into child's pose. Big toes together. Rest your forehead down onto the mat. And just taking a moment here, regaining your breath if you lost it. Deep in breath. And deep out breath. And sit on the heels at the back of the mat. Lift your hips directly above the knees. Tuck the toes under. So we're going to come into full Ustrasana here, camel. Breath in, take the hands up towards the sky. Draw your hands all the way behind you so the fingertips face up towards the shoulder blades. Heel of the hand comes to the sacrum. Draw elbows into the center line. Lengthen through the spine. Now keep lengthening through the quads. Draw the hips forward and take the chest back. Keeping the chin tucked into the chest, so we want to protect the neck there. Now this might be enough for you, or you might be able to take your hands onto your heels. Keep pressing the hips forward, keeping that chin tucked into the chest. Feel your front body lengthening. Feel your back body engaging. So those muscle groups working in synergy, their quadriceps are long. Hamstrings are contracted. One more breath in, pressing your hips just slightly further forward. Take one hand in front of the thigh. Push off through the other hand, lift up. Take the other hand in front of the thigh. Arms come to shoulder height. Fine line. Engage through the core and hinge back. And let's hold this here. Continuing to connect to your breath. Inhale, lift up. Let's do this one more time to try and fire up through the quads, fine line. Exhale, hinge back. And hold this. Try not to allow the hips to drop. Keep pressing them forward. Maybe hinging back that little bit more for one inhale. One more exhale. Inhale, coming all the way through. Releasing hands down onto the mat, untuck toes. Lower hips down, gaze up to the sky. Soften through your shoulders. Exhale now all the way down. Take your left hands underneath your forehead. Bend into the right knee. Draw your right hand around the right foot and draw the heel in towards the glute. And if your hand doesn't reach the foot, you can even just try grabbing on to your ankles, or if you've got shorts on, just grabbing onto the shorts, or just lifting the foot up towards the ceiling. So we just want to allow our hips to become heavy and find this length into the right side quad, making sure both knees are facing in the same direction. Every exhale, decreasing the space between the heel and the glute. And release the foot down onto the mat. Switch here so right hand comes below the head. Bend into the left knee. Draw your hand around the foot. And take the heel into the glute. Torso melts to the earth. And again, making sure knees are facing in the same direction. And release there. Take the hands below the shoulders. Press into child's pose for a moment. And inhale, ripple shoulders above the wrists into all fours. Swing feet over to the side, lower hips down. And just take your feet so that they're about mat width apart. Hands come behind you. Drop your knees over towards the right side. And release into the outer hip on the left. Breathe in, lift to the center. Exhale, drop the knees over towards the left side. Inhale, lift to the center. Take your feet now so they're hip distance apart. Left ankle comes on top of the right thigh, and taking a moment here in a seated pigeon. Left knee draws forward, using your hands to maintain that length through the spine. And release the foot down. And adjust your feet so they're about mat width apart again. Drop knees over towards the right. Inhale to the center. Drop them to the left. Lift to the center. Feet become hip distance apart. And just repeat the same in the other side. So right ankle comes on top of the left thigh. Draw your knee forward. Grow nice and tall, soften through your shoulders. Soften through the jawline, just release any tension. And release. Let's drop the knees over to the side one more time. Inhale to the center. Drop them to the left. Inhale to the center. Walk hands forward, cross the feet. And let's just release into the outer hips. Breathe in, take the hands up to the sky. Exhale, fold from the hips, extend the hands forward, drop the head to the mat. And release any tension through the crown of the head, through the forehead. Soften the cheeks. Walk hands back, lift and lengthen through the spine, and let's just repeat that on the other side. So switching so the opposite leg is leading. Breathe in, hands up. Exhale, take a fold. Hands draw forward once again, forehead draws in the direction of the mat. Melt into this fold as you release into the outer hip. Walk hands back. Grow nice and tall. Rest your hands in the knees. Close the eyes for a moment. And just pausing here to give yourself the gratitude you deserve for coming onto your mat. Feeling that energy, feeling that heat traveling from the hips to the toes. Feeling it circulate through other parts of the body too, around the torso, the arms, and even in the head. And breathe in, take the hands up towards the sky, allow palms to meet. Thumbs raised onto the crown of the head. Take them between the eyebrows to the third eye, then to the heart center. Exhaling, gently bowing your head. Om Shanti. And just slowly coming up. And thank you so much for choosing to flow with me. I hope you enjoyed that class and hopefully see you again soon.